Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ragena Deva Munaya Svavimukti Kama. Maunam Charanti Vijanena Parartha Nishta. Naitan Vihaya Kripanan Vivamuksha Eko. Nanyam Tadasya Sharanam Brahmato Nupashye. Ragena Deva Munayaksva Vimukti Kama. Nam Charanti Vijanena Parartha Nishta. Naitan Vihaya Kripanan Vibumuksha Eko. Nanyam Twadasya Sharanam Brahmato Nupashye. Prayena. Generally, in almost all cases, Deva, O my Lord, Munaya, the great saintly persons, Sva, personal, own, Vimukti Kama, ambitious for liberation from this material world, Maunam, silently, Charanti, they wander in places like the Himalaya forests, where they have no touch with the activities of the materialists. Vijane, in solitary places. Na, not. Para artanishta, interested in working for others by giving them the benefit of the Krishna consciousness movement by enlightening them with Krishna consciousness. Na, not. Etan, these. Vihaya, leaving aside. Kripanan, fools and rascals engaged in materialistic activities who do not know the benefit of the human form of life. Vimukshe, I desire to be liberated and return home back to Godhead. Eka, alone. Na, not. Anyam, other. Twat, but for you. Asya, of this. Sharnam, shelter. Brahmataha, of the living entity rotating and wandering throughout the material universes. Anupashye, do I see. Translation, my dear Lord Nrsingadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrata. But they are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to the shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada's purport. This is the decision of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna-conscious person can even go to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj said, Naivo dvijay para duratya yavaitaranya. O best of the great personalities, I'm not at all afraid of material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 6:17-28. Narayana parak sarve nakutaschana pipyati suraka pavarga narakeshu apitulyarta darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same, for such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. For a devotee, being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven nor in hell, but in Krishna in the spiritual world, with Krishna in the spiritual world. The secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and gyanis. Karmis therefore try to be happy by material adjustment. And gyanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotee has no such interest. He is not interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, his interest is in the busiest part of the world, where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement was started for this purpose. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and may be proud of his so-called transcendental meditation, although he engages in all sorts of foolish materialistic activity. A Vaishnava like Prahlad Maharaj is not interested in such a bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness, because that is the only way for them to become happy. Prahlad Maharaj says clearly, Nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato nupashye. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. One wanders within the universe, life after life. But by the grace of a devotee, a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get the clue to Krishna consciousness and then not only become happy in this world, but also return home back to Godhead. That is the real target in life. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation. Nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna one cannot be happy. Thus, the Krishna conscious person avoids all kinds of pseudo-spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. I offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the previous acharyas, and to all the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpadurvascha kripa sindhudevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Today I'll work with an acronym which is SEE, which spells see, and the first letter means to see, SEE. We should see how it is that anyone in the material world who has not come in contact with Krishna and taken shelter of his lotus feet is in a suffering condition of life. We read the other day that the greatest source of unhappiness is to divert one's attention from the ultimate goal of life, which is to serve Krishna. And we find a world, which we're in now, where people seek to divert their attention very deliberately from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, it becomes institutionalized, and people develop various means of constant distraction, what to speak of philosophical systems which seem to enable them to handily forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead and justify it. That leads to a society of people who are wholly unhappy. Not H-O-L-Y, unhappy, but W-H-O-L-L-Y, unhappy. And so we find in this verse the mood of Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnavas, who are paradukha-dukhi. They suffer because of the sufferings of others. And we must first see that suffering in order to proceed to the next two letters in the acronym. The second one is to enter. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enters the world. Anarpita, we discussed this verse early on, and it's such a relishable verse, and it defines our mission so clearly. It's worth thinking of regularly. Anarpita means the Lord Krishna considered, I haven't come to the world in such a way as to give Krishna consciousness to everybody. And what's more, the highest version of Krishna consciousness, which is Krishna's most intimate pastimes with his dearest devotees. That, he said, hasn't been given. Anarpita, arpita means to give. Anarpita means it hasn't been given. Charim chirat, it's been too long, or has been done at all. Hasn't been done ever, some acharyas say. Anarpita charim chirat karuna yavatuna. Karuna means, it's a soft word. Karuna means to weep for another. You feel the pain of another, and therefore you feel sad. The meaning of karuna. This is paradukha-dukhi. An advanced person feels the suffering of others who are suffering. They're not callous. They feel sad that other people are suffering. Karuna. Yavatirna. Avatirna means something happens because of that sense of feeling sad for those who are suffering. And what is it? Avatirna comes from the word avatara, which means to enter. Actually, literally means to descend, to come from a higher position where you have an advantage to a lower position where people are suffering and they need help. So, anarpita charim chirat karuna yavatirna kalau. And when does it happen? In the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is a topsy-turvy age. People have no consideration of what is right or wrong. It's a time when people, asamskrita kriyahina rajasa tamasavrita prajaste bakshishani mlecha rajana rupina. The prediction comes in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Asamskrita. People have no samskars in this age. Kriyahina. They'll have no process for purifying themselves. Asamskrita kriyahina rajasa tamasavrita. And he's speaking to the king, Rajasa Tamasavrita, the Prajaste Pakshi Shanti. Because of that, the people in general will be ruined. Prajas means all the people. People are supposed to be taken care of. They're supposed to be given opportunity to improve themselves in their lives. And leaders, kings, presidents, prime ministers, whomever it may be, who's in charge, is supposed to provide facility so people aren't hungry, so they have what they need. And most of all, so they can make spiritual advancement and live peacefully in life. Prajaste Pakshi Shanti, but in the age of Kali Yuga, people's peace of mind, their entire structure of life is being destroyed. Mlecha Rajana Rupina, because Raja Rupina means those who appear like kings, but they're not actual kings. They're mlechas. They're low-class people. This is the cause of the onset of Kali Yuga and the progressive way that it descends into lower and lower modes of nature because of the leadership, which is misguided. More than misguided, they become evil. That's a pretty heavy word to use in church. And so the Lord, understanding this phenomenon in Kali Yuga, which is already predicted by the sages at Naimisharanya, Prayanal Payusha Shabdya Kalabasmin Yugejana, Manda Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya Padrita. People would be very much retarded in their spiritual advancement in this age. So, out of mercy, the Lord descends. Karuna Yavatirna Kalau Samarpayitum. Again, the word arpita, and this time some arpita, means that he makes arrangement for the complete distribution of his mercy. Samarpayitum, not just a little but a lot. Samarpitam unatojora rasa. He even gives the highest conception of love for God, which is Madhura Ras. Unatojora rasam sabhakti shriyam. Hari purata sundara duti katamba santapita. He appears as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this age. And so the Lord sees that there's a necessity to distribute. He comes in this extremely merciful form. Also, various verses in the 11th canto, especially by Karabhajan Muni, describing not only the favorable aspects of Kali Yuga, but also the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, we all know Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangasha Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Hi Sumedasa, which means that the Lord, who is not blackish in Kali Yuga, Tusha Krishnam. He's Krishna, but he's not blackish, means he's golden. Sangha Pangasha Parshadam, he comes with his associates who act as his weapons to destroy ignorance. Yagnai Sankirtana prayer, there it is, specifically mentioned by Sankirtan. Yajanti hi sumedasa, and people who have sufficient intelligence, sumedasa means they have good intelligence. They take advantage of this. And what's more, it's described there by Karabhajan Muni that, or at least in the commentary of Karabhajan Muni's description of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming in Kali Yuga, that those who are elevated beings who see the impending influence of Kali Yuga and also understand that the Lord will make his advent during that time, they pray to take birth in Kali Yuga so they can take advantage of the opportunity. What's more, it's mentioned directly by Karabhajan Muni that many great souls will take birth specifically to help spread the Sankirtan movement in the age of Kali Yuga. It's there in black and white. And then we have Kalim, he says, Kalim Sabaja Yarya Guna Gya Sarabhagina Yatra Sankirtane Naiva Sarva Swarto Pilabhite. Sarva Swarto. All of one's necessities can be fulfilled. Sarva Swarto Abhilabhite. How? In Kali Yuga, Kalim Sabaja Yarya, smart people know. In Kali Yuga, it's the best time. Guna Gya Sarabhagina, those who know the essence of life and what's most important know that in Kali Yuga, you can get everything by one process, by Sankirtan. And then, of course, Karabhaja Muni says, Tyaktva sadusyaja surepsi cha raja lakshmin dharmishta arya vachasa yadagada ranyam maya mrigam dayite epsitaman vadavan vande mahapurushate charanada vindam. This is about Lord Chaitanya. In the Bhagavatam, says that he gave up the goddess of fortune on the curse of the Brahmin. You know, Srivas Pandit, on the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the first year when they performed Sankirtan at Srivasangam. Who here's been to Srivasangam? You got to go to Srivasangam and dance in ecstasy, and then your life will be complete. They wouldn't let anybody in because it was experimental phase for the Sankirtan process. They had a double-blind study going on in there before he opened the doors and let it flood out into the world, and he only wanted pure devotees in there chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And a cantankerous old Brahmana tried to get in. I don't know how they locked the door on those grass huts, but somehow or other they wouldn't let him in. And he became so angry that the next day when he saw Nimai Pandit down at the Ganges, he broke his Brahmin thread and he said, I curse you that you'll never enjoy material happiness. And Mahaprabhu became unlimitedly happy. And that's mentioned in this verse. Tyaktva sadusya jasarepsi raja lakshmin. Dharmishta Arya means the words of the Arya, the Brahmin, because of his curse, Mahaprabhu used it as an excuse. That's something Prabhupada brings up in a few places. Another place in conjunction with Vidura, who when what's his name? The hothead, Duryodhana, started screaming at him, he used it as an excuse to go on pilgrimage. So you should always have something in your back pocket. Get ready to go out the back door. Go out the back, Jack. You can just be ready at any time. Always keep yourself prepared to go back to Godhead. Because what if Krishna comes right now and says, okay, let's go. And it was like, wait a minute, I got to go to work still. No, be ready at any second to go. So devotees are keeping themselves in that state. They keep getting ready. It's like, you know, if you don't want to jump off diving board, you just kind of get closer to the edge so you almost anybody can go and it will fall in. So you want to be as close as possible, even if you don't have the guts to do it. And then there'll be some excuse. Someone will scream at you the wrong way, and then you say, okay, bye. I'm going to join Krishna. That's what Padayatra is for. You can take off, nobody knows where you are. In any case, Tyaktva sadusya dasarepsya raja lakshmin. He walked away from, he was the hero of Nadia. Adored by everybody, worshipped by everybody, is the brightest person who ever lived. And he just walked away. Why? And the excuse of the Brahmin's curse said, I curse you. And it's like, okay, thanks. Dharmishta Arya Vachasa, because of the words of the Brahmin. Taragad Aranyam. And he went to the Aranya, the forest. Taragam Aranyam. Maya. This third line says, he chased after the conditioned souls. That was one of the reasons he left home, is to chase after the conditioned souls. So that's the second letter in the acronym for today, C, S-E-E, which is to enter. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one day, as described by Vrindavan Das Thakur, was walking with Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And according to the description of Vrindavan Das Thakur, when Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda walked down the street in Nadia, it looked like there were two moons walking together. People, are there two moons walking the streets? And as they walked down the street, emanating these waves of ecstasy, Lord Nityananda mentioned that there's a householder sannyasi that lives here in this house. Meaning is It was a householder, but he was supposedly there to do tapasya. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, let's go in. And they went into the house of the householder sannyasi and they had an interaction with him. They sat down. His wife was feeding them. And the so-called sannyasi of the house began offering a bliss drink. He said, you take some bliss drink. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu leaned over to Nityananda and he said, what does he mean, bliss drink? Ananda, some Ananda beverage. He said, what does he mean? What's he talking about? He keeps saying the bliss drink. And Nityananda said, he means wine. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately stood up and they both left that place immediately and jumped in the Ganga and floated all the way to the house of Advaita Acharya. But the author points out how merciful is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's omniscient. He knows what's in there. He knew the quality of the so-called sannyasi. It's funny, a householder sannyasi with the bliss drink. And he went in anyway. He enters. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't just come down and stay in a holy place, but he goes to the most degraded places. And this is the same as Prabhupada. Prabhupada would see people. In Los Angeles, when he opened the temple on VAISESIKA Avenue, it was a church. And he told them, leave it as a church so the people can come here. And then there were some people coming from the neighborhood who were elderly women, and they had canes. And Prabhupada told the devotees, which at the time sounded like sacrilege, to put in some chairs. Believe it or not, there was a time when chairs were considered sacrilege. I can go into many details about this, but I won't. Not just the chairs, about many things. In any case, they were, the devotees there were surprised, but they put chairs in the back row so these elderly women from the neighborhood could come there and they would sit there with their canes and they were appreciating the program that was going on. They would listen to Prabhupada. And when there was kirtan, Prabhupada would go back around where those elderly women were, and they would stand up and he would acknowledge them each personally that they were there. He took the time. He saw them. He appreciated the fact that they were coming and they were listening. What's more, it's mentioned how when Prabhupada was in the Bowery, and I already went into some detail about that, how people were lying in the road and even in the hallway up to Prabhupada's loft. And one day when Prabhupada walked by, one of the drunks who still had a bottle in his hand hadn't finished all his hooch. So when he saw Prabhupada, he tipped his bottle. You know, people do that all over the world. They drink alcohol and they'll say something like, "Kampai," or "Cheers." This is a supposed way of expression of mirth, that, you know, we're so happy here, or good fortune, or something like that. And so that man from that tradition, he sat up as much as he could, and he tipped his bottle towards Prabhupada, like, cheers. And Prabhupada noted that he had started his devotional service. He noted that this person had taken a Gyata Sukriti into his heart because he saw a holy person, and although he was flattened by his addiction to alcohol, he tipped his bottle. Prabhupada saw him. He didn't ignore him. He saw that person. He recognized that's the beginning. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Neha Vikramanashosti Pratyavayo Navidyate Swalpamapyasya Dharmasya Traite Mahato Baya Su Alpam. What's Alpam? Come on. Aap hindi bol sakte hai? Ha. Small. And what's Su Alpam? Very, very small. It's so small. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Molecule size. You know how many molecules there are in a glass of water? A lot. And su alpa means if you see, you're looking for that. If somebody tips their bottle, if somebody smiles and they show their teeth, when they see a devotee, like this morning when we went on our morning walk, our extensive morning walk, there was a woman with a little dog. And as we walked by, she kind of smiled and she stood back and she goes, "Oh, good morning." Not everybody does that. A lot of people pretend like you don't exist. And I could see immediately, there's some beginning in Krishna consciousness. We have to see people. We have to see. We should be looking through the environment. If you're driving down the street, you should be watching out the window and saying, that guy would take a book. You should see all the stores when you're going by. I'm coming back there later. I'm going to go in every one of them. I'm going to go in. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went into the house of a drunkard. Why can't we go into a tire shop? We can go into a bar. We can enter. Avatirna Kalau. Because in Kali Yuga, everybody's degraded. So we have to give mercy. We have to enter. We have to see carefully, look everywhere. We have to be scanning constantly. Where is that spark? So we can fan it. And we have to enter there. We have to go in. So that's number 2. You have to see, you have to enter, and number 3, you have to extend yourself. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mayam Rigam Dayite Ipsitam Anvadavan. It means he chased after, he extended himself to the fallen conditioned souls to catch them and give them Krishna consciousness. Because they won't take it in Kali Yuga. So he made sure that he went everywhere. And plus he made a discount. It's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that everything was discounted. So the members of the Panchatattva, they didn't consider who was a fit or unfit candidate. They didn't consider what was a good place or a bad place. And they gave it to everyone wherever they went. So this is an extension. We have to extend ourselves. And this is the mood of the verse today. This is Prabhupada's mood. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. And when you worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then you can understand the Ujjvala Rasa. Then you can understand Radha and Krishna. Not otherwise. There's no other entry point. Yata yata gora padara vindeta bhaktim kitapunya rashi. This is a verse by Prabodhananda Saraswati in the Chaitanya Chandamrita. It says, the more that you worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then tata tato sarpata hridyakasmad, then radhapadam boja sudharmi rashi. The more you worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the more your heart floods with the mood of Vrindavan. Otherwise we can't understand it, we can't approach it. Now, what's the mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It's in the verse, Anarpita charim jirat karune yavatirna kalau. He comes specifically, enters Kali Yuga in order to extend himself to give mercy to others. His rasa is distribution. His rasa is going to the lowest place and giving the highest thing. And you want to know, okay, you guys distribute books. I'm going to find a holy place and sit down and achieve rasa. And I'll become a raga bhakta by sitting down. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the only gateway to Krishna consciousness. And you have to be in the same mood. And that is, you have to see the suffering of the conditioned souls, just as Prahlad Maharaj says in this verse. And then you have to enter that place and you have to extend yourself, because that is the rasa in Kali Yuga. It's samarpayutum, it's full-on distribution mode. It's Krishna distributing what's most important in the spiritual world to other people. And we can enter that rasa by following Srila Prabhupada's lead, that he came to the most degraded places and he made all provisions to extend himself to everybody through literature, through doing Harinam, and any other way that was possible to make that entry point. and then extend himself to make sure everyone got it, including the drunks who were lying there on the road. That's the rasa. And we can enter that rasa remembering that we were extended that mercy. Otherwise, how did we get in here in the first place? We're here in the morning dancing in front of Radha and Krishna. How did we get here? It was the extension of Srila Prabhupada and through his followers all over the world. So we have to be those followers who extend ourselves to make sure that everyone gets it. That's Prahlad Maharaj's mood. Prayena deva munayaksva vimukti kama maunam charanta. So swavimukta means we're not just doing it for ourselves. Swavimukta means somebody's just doing them for himself, but Prahlad's against that. Don't just do it for yourself. So what if you're liberated? Who cares? We care about giving it to other people. That's the mood of this verse. And that's Prabhupada's mood, absolutely 100%. Why did he write such a purport and say, this is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement? It's to go door to door. He says it very specifically. That means you have to enter. You have to walk up the walkway. You have to go through the gate. You have to buzz the buzzer and someone says, what's going on? Who is it? And you can say, I don't know, what can you say? Ni hao. Konnichiwa. Or bonjour. You enter. We don't stay home. We go out. Okay, enough of that. Let's take some reflections or questions. Ma Bhagavata Prabhu, in the lead.
I've been reflecting a lot about the gratitude to the disciples of His Divine Grace, like VAISESIKA Swami Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada tried for 30, 40 years in India to distribute Krishna consciousness and nobody would take it. There were so few takers of what he was trying to distribute. And then he came to the Western countries where people knew nothing about Krishna consciousness, and they wholeheartedly surrendered themselves to the mission of Srila Prabhupada and carried it forward so that the rest of us, especially the foolish Indians who came here looking for things that the Westerners already had and had given up. But because if it was not for the disciples of Srila Prabhupada would have come and gone, and the rest of us would have been none the wiser. So we're very grateful to all of you.
Haribol. Well, okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank
I
you.
know I'll respond to that at some point, but I'm stunned, so I can't say anything. Go ahead.
Thank you for the acronym of enter and then extend.
Yeah.
I really appreciated it. And I was having a discussion about this verse with another devotee, and then they were saying of the thing of you said about not sitting down. They said that Prahlad Maharaj is speaking from a level of perfection of love of God, and we're not there yet, so we need to go sit somewhere and go to a holy place. How would we respond to that? That we're not at the level of perfection. Prahlad Maharaj is speaking.
We go all the time to holy places. Every year we go to Vrindavan and we sit at Govardhan Hill. You've been there, right? And we hear Bhagavatam and we chant all day long. We do nothing else. And then you come back and you distribute what you have. So you have to know the right formula. And you also have to have the right philosophy. The two things go together. When I went with a little gaggle of new bhaktas and bhaktins to meet Prabhupada in San Francisco, and the temple president excitedly introduced us as the Sankirtan devotees, book distribution. Prabhupada looked at us sternly. He said, "You must also read my books. I've not written them just for selling. I've written them for you to read, to become pure devotees, and to go back to Godhead." But he didn't say, just go sit down and read the books all the time. Nor did he or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta ever say, just go to a secluded place and chant all the time. In fact, he said just the opposite. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wrote a song about it and said, you cheater mind, what do you think? You're going to fake everybody out by going to a holy place. It wasn't his mood. But it is a mood. We should sit down and chant. He said, Prabhupada wrote, sit down tightly, chant very loudly for a long time until you become one-minded with the holy name. In fact, when I wrote our family business, and I wanted to put a formula that I understood Prabhupada taught us, how to expand the book distribution movement. The first thing is your sadhana must be strong. No doubt about it, absolutely. But there is no evidence at all that this is the mood of any of our acharyas that neophytes should go and sit down and then achieve perfection and then go out. In fact, there's perfection in the distribution itself. It's a high sadhana unto itself. And we've seen it practically that those who are neophytes, or I could say kanishta adhikaris, become madhyamas very quickly when they go out, because there's a current running through the Sankirtan process when you go out and meet people and give them Krishna consciousness, where you see for yourself the efficacy of Krishna consciousness. Then you can chant more, plus you get the mercy of Lord Nityananda for being a distributor of Krishna consciousness. So I don't think there's evidence for that in maybe in another sampradaya. If you want to join another sampradaya, help yourself. But that's not the mood that comes down from any of our acharyas in our Bhakti-Vinod Parivar. Okay, yes. Ma Mantra, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. It's really nice to hear from you again. I was just reflecting on the verse where Prahlad Maharaj is saying how instead of going to the Himalayas and chant, they bring Krishna consciousness to them. And I was reflecting on how Prabhupada and even his Guru Maharaj Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, they wouldn't put temples. You would think you wanted like get self-realization, it would be better if it was like in a serene place. But actually they put it in the city, in the heart of the city, to attract so many people. And I remember in myself 3 years ago how, like, okay, I'm gonna find a temple, like meditation. You would think it would be like in like the Himalayas, but funny enough, it'd be in the cities, and that would attract me to like Krishna consciousness. And similarly, we should try, it's already in the cities or it's close to the people, the mass of people, so we should just try to get everyone. It's so simple and easy, we just have to reach our hand out. So I was just wanting to reflect on that.
Definitely New York City. You just reach your hand outside the door, there'll be somebody there. Yeah, it's very true. And there's also a place for serenity and a retreat time. In fact, the Bhaktivedanta Ashram at Govardhan Hill, the mission statement for it was specifically for itinerant preachers who want to have a spiritual retreat, a place where you can go and be sequestered so that you can stay there and hear and chant and nobody's going to get on your case. That what are you spending all day hearing and chanting for? And so we should have those also, so that we have that impetus to distribute it. You can't distribute what you don't have. And it's good to have that formula that you continue to hear and chant and increase that throughout your life and at the same time distribute to other people. It augments it. Yeah. Okay, there was maybe one more? Yes. Prabhu, what is your name?
Anandadas.
Anil?
Anandadas.
Ananda.
Yes.
Ananda.
Anandadas.
Ananda Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Bolo Ananda Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, as you mentioned that Krishna descends to protect devotees, and here in this Narsinga Leela as well, he comes to save Prahlad Maharaj. But he was the one who sent Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. As in third canto, we read that Prabhupada had mentioned in one of the purports that Krishna wanted to enjoy the rasa of fighting, and that's why these Jay and Vijay, they come to the material world. And they come here, they give all the sufferings to devotees, they create chaos here, and then Krishna comes to protect devotees. So he is the one who is giving sufferings, and he is the one who comes to protect, and where the jiva, their free will is always the free will and the conditioning. It's just kind of very confusing.
Is it a statement or a question?
Question.
Or just musing?
It's a question that he's sending.
What's the question? Say it in one sentence, no semicolon.
Why is he sending the demons, and then he's coming to protect the devotees?
Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in a verse, "My greatest pleasure, my greatest happiness is the suffering I take in the execution of the order of my spiritual master." From the vision of Jai and Vichai, they're not suffering. It's the greatest happiness to enter into the Leela of the Lord and give Him happiness in whatever way He wants. Manasa deho geho yo kichumo. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, my body, my mind, my family, my house, even my soul doesn't belong to me, it's yours. If Krishna, you want to use me as a football and toss my soul around somewhere, that's my greatest happiness. That means full cooperation and surrender to the Lord is ecstasy, ever-increasing ecstasy. So this is not a mundane assignment to come and fight with the Lord and be a demon. It's an unlimited Leela. And so that's the Lord's impetus, and the devotees are very happy to accommodate in that way. I mean, what if you got that assignment? You wouldn't be upset about it. If Krishna personally gave you an assignment to fight with him here in Toronto, not only would you be eternally famous, did you hear about the fight with Ananda, Prabhu and Krishna? Right there in Blur and Spadina? You'd be eternally famous in a page or a chapter even in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's not suffering. Suffering is ignorance.
But these demons create suffering for other devotees.
The devotees are not the ones who are suffering. It's the ones who are in ignorance. And on the contrary, as is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the advent of the Lord, the reason that He incarnates and performs these pastimes. What's the verse? It's out of my head right now. Huh? The one I say all the time, but I can't remember right now. It's a verse in the Bhagavatam mentions Yashrutva tat parobhavet. That's the last line. Yashrutva tat parobhavet is the last line that finishes it. Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham deham ashrita. So this verse explains that anugrahaya, it's out of mercy. Anugrahaya bhaktanam, for all his bhaktas. Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham deham. He takes a bodily, apparently human form. Deham ashrita. Huh? Bhajate tadrishi kritva, krida yashrutva tat parobhavet. And why does he do it? Because if he didn't give us something to talk about, what are we going to talk about? The new prime minister here? He's got nice hair, handsome guy, stands up to other people. I mean, that's what you talk about. Unless Krishna comes down and has a rumble in the jungle with, a pig. That's something to talk about. And then he smashes him upside the head and he kills him, and it was a good fight. That's something to talk about. Yashrutva tat parobhavet. And all the devotees who are involved in that pastime, that's the greatest ecstasy, and it's the Lord's purpose. We're not different from the Lord. We're the same and different at the same time. So it's the Lord extending himself in the form of his devotees, which are Achinta Bhed Abhed Tattva. It's all his Leela. And within the purview of his Leela, it's all progressive and it's all Ananda, Prabhu. Outside that purview, Ritertam Yat Pratiyata, when you forget Krishna and there's no Krishna, that's the suffering, it's the darkness of ignorance. But his pastimes, even though they may seem extreme, I mean, why wouldn't they be extreme? It's Krishna. He doesn't mess around. You know, when he marries 16,108 queens. That's kind of interesting.
So, these demons, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh, were they under the influence of spiritual Maya or the material?
Pardon?
Hiranyaksh and Hiranyakashipu, were they under the influence of spiritual Maya or the material
Spiritual,
Maya?
yeah. That's right.
Thank you.
Yogamaya Samavrita. They're under Yogamaya. Correct. I think there was one more, but since we're... Okay, this is the lightning round. These are 30-second questions and a 1-minute answer.
You mentioned a verse in 12th canto, and the line said, Malekcha Rajanya Rupina. So the current governance is the governance of Malechas. What would the governance of Brahmanas or Vaishnavas look like?
In this age?
Yeah, if you say so. I mean, if in this
Well,
age,
I just heard this morning when I was getting ready, Prabhupada was talking about how he's come here to train Brahmanas. Because if you don't have people who have Brahminical qualities, who can give advice, then you have chaos. So what it looks like is you getting trained up and becoming a Paka Brahmana to help advise those who have the propensity to do management, do leadership. Okay, who was the last one? And then, oh, okay.
Maharaj, today's discussion around liberation reminded me of what you were talking about this morning during Japa walk, about the yogi story who could see trillions of lifetimes of his past. And I was just wondering that, and you were talking about that not only happiness, but the false promise of happiness keeps us here for so many lifetimes. So this can sound really silly, but the thought that's coming into my head is that what if we also knew all these things, we wouldn't repeat these mistakes in ignorance again and again. So why doesn't Krishna just remove that ignorance? Or
Yeah, he does. He comes with an intervention. Maya mukta jivera nahi swata Krishna gyan, jivera kripaya koila Krishna Veda Puran. You pass the mic over for the very, very last. That was the penultimate, and this is the ultimate and last question. He comes and he makes an intervention because it's not automatic that the living entities come out of ignorance. Therefore, Maya mukta jivera nahi Krishna swata. It's not automatic, and therefore Vedavyas has made an intervention. Therefore we have this. Why do you think we distribute? Just to make money? I mean, you could sell, I don't know, soap and a rope and make more money. But we sell Bhagavatam because it's the intervention that you're looking for in the lives of the jivas, the Bhagavatam. Living entities, especially in human bodies, are very smart. I walk up and down this Roxborough and I see they make this machinery that can drill holes. They can build a huge trench in one day. I've seen them. They're doing it over here on Roxborough, a trench. That would take me a lifetime to do what they did in 5 minutes. Humans are really smart. And it's the breakout time for the humans. So that's why he appears as Krishna, as an avatar, as the Bhagavatam, the holy name, and intervenes. That's why we have to S-E-E. We have to see the suffering We have to enter, we have to extend ourselves, because that's the intervention. We've been given the job. It's us who have to do it. Okay, last one for sure.
Maharaj, I wanted to ask that if a neophyte starts his or her sadhana, for example, chanting, reading Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, how long does it take to become spiritually stable so that
40
they
years.
don't... Sorry?
40 years, 40.
Okay.
That's what Prabhupada said. He told Charu, my godbrother, Charu is a new devotee, 1970 in Australia. He asked Prabhupada, how long does it take to achieve this steadiness in chanting the holy name? He said Prabhupada didn't answer for 60 seconds. And then he said 40 years. Some disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta came to him for a darshan, and they were morose. They said to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, said, we've been chanting a long time, and we don't have the kind of ruchi we were hoping for. He said, how long have you been chanting now? One said 10 years, the other one said 11 years. He said, oh, I was worried for a second. I thought you had actually been chanting for a long time. And so we should be patient. The result is sure and certain. And in fact, even if you give up Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said, the Lord will forcibly drag you back. So why not just cooperate? And if you have a little benign discomfort in the meantime, because you think like, how come I'm not experiencing horripilation? If you're experiencing a sense of happiness for doing your duty, because you know what the right thing is and you're doing it, that's a kind of ruchi. During a class in Los Angeles, Prabhupada stopped in the middle of the class and he said, you all have ruchi. And then he said, every day I come here, I say the same things. He said, every day you come here and you sit and listen, he said, that is taste. So if you're showing up for your japa, you have taste. It'll only grow from there. And you may not know the full extent of your practice in this lifetime. Prabhupada writes that also in line of the Bhagavad. He said, this lifetime is a chaturmasya-like existence. Chaturmasya, people do all kinds of insane austerities, like eating off the floor with their hands behind their back. You got to get into that. And one time a day, as much as you can eat with your head down. And everything else goes 4 months of the rainy season, you have to stay inside anyway. And then Prabhupada said, they don't know what the effect of that is until they walk out the door when the rainy season is over, and then they feel it. And he said, similarly, we may not know the full extent of our advancement. That you, look at you, you're a sadhvi. You're coming here, Mangalartik, sitting, chanting. This is unusual. You're doing very high sadhana. The result, sure is certain, it'll come when it's ready. Almond trees take 7 years, intensive watering, before they even give one almond. So if you're growing almonds, which is a pretty high-level foodstuff on this planet, you could live off those if you had to. It takes a while. So just remember, you're going for the whole thing here. So take your time. 1 lifetime, 3 lifetimes, 1,000. We say 1 lifetime means in 1 lifetime, like one of these lifetimes is exactly going to happen. If you have that mood and just chant, then you'll be satisfied and happy because you know it's sure and certain. Absolutely sure and certain. Don't worry. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Prahlad Maharaj, if you so desire, please let us follow in your footsteps and see the suffering of this world, that we're suffering and that everybody else, especially the rich people in Roxborough. Please let us enter these places with the best of intention and artfully enter these places. And please let us extend ourselves as your representatives to give them relief and start them on their path back to Godhead. Please empower us. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We have to welcome His Grace Hriday Pran Prabhu, who took a train all the way up here. And he brought the biggest devotee in ISKCON with him. Mantra Prabhu. Who else did you bring? There are more devotees coming today, but we've been warming up the last few days. Now it's time to really get into it. This is a mela, so everyone dance higher, chant harder, and let's put a dent in Maya this weekend. This will be the weekend where everything changes and there's a groundswell of Sankirtan all over Toronto. Okay? Yes. Vanchakalptarishcha kripasindhavevacha patitanam padribhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavi ki jai. Gaur Premanande Haribo.